Welcome to the AbsoluteCast. So we are a podcast about... Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't introduce myself. I'm TJ, and I'll be your host. And, of course, we have with us Udit.
Hey there, I'm Udit, and I'm excited to be here at our first podcast.
And, of course, we also have with us Nakul.
Hey, I'm a technology writer at AbsoluteGeeks.com, and I'm also excited for our first podcast
Episode.
record.
So since you mentioned Absolute Geeks, what is it about? What's Absolute Geeks?
So I just recently joined Absolute Geeks, and we talk about tech, throwback episodes. I recently saw a few.
Putting him on the spot. I like it.
Those were cool. Like, who started that?
Oh, actually, Throwback's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we had a phenomenal writer called Nakul who joined in.
Okay.
And he was doing this. He just went to town with it. He went crazy with it.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a short break for whatever reason, personal
Okay.
reasons. He's got some stuff he needs to take care of. You must have met him, actually. He was
Yes,
here.
at the wedding.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Tanman ki shadi, of course.
Okay.
Wow. That's my wedding. Okay. Right. So he was here for a while, and I think after that he's not had the time to give to Throwback Thursdays.
He's still in Dubai?
No, he's from UK. He's not actually in here. So he's based out of UK. Hopefully we'll get him back on. But basically, so Absolute Geeks is about geeky stuff. It could be anything. So the Throwback Thursday is a nice segment that's about old school tech or tech way back, whenever it may be. But then, of course, we also talk about anything. It can be tech, can be gadgets, devices. It can even be something like manga or anime or whatever it may be, Comic-Con even.
Yeah, that's our second show on Absolute Geeks. We'll be talking about manga and stuff.
Yeah.
And we should do a podcast about throwback stuff.
Oh, yeah, we should, actually. That's a good idea.
Sure,
Atari-
sounds interesting.
Yeah. You're into anime, I know.
Yes, I'm
not.
only Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z, you're not
I'm
into
not
anime
at all.
At all?
At all.
Like zero?
Yeah,
Not
like
even
zero.
manga?
Nope.
Well, actually, it should be the other way around. It should be okay, fine. Because I'm not... So then we're probably not the right people
Yes.
I guess so.
to talk about this. Unless it's like a Dragon Ball Z episode only. And then I'll just be fawning over Goku and Broly and fighting Broly, I guess. And
I'll be
the
I'll
Kamehameha.
be Vegeta.
Okay. It's all gibberish for me.
Vegeta? Ew. I don't know how he is now. Way back then, he was still a sourpuss.
No, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like anger issues, but
Anger issues.
he's good.
Like Udit.
Uh-huh. Sure.
We'll find
Sounds
out.
very calm to me.
We'll find out. Okay, so the first episode of this podcast, of our podcast, because this is the first ever episode of the AbsoluteCast, right? So this episode's going to be about
Podcast apps.
podcasting apps.
Yes.
Isn't that a bit too on the nose?
Podcasting apps would be like
Post-
as a creator.
Okay, so podcast apps. So see there, I'm already being corrected. All right, so podcast apps.
Yes.
And as a content consumer, not a creator.
Correct.
Yes, as a consumer.
Okay, so out of the three of us, our resident expert for podcasting is actually Nakul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which he didn't even know about because he's been so you've been listening to podcasts for a while.
Since I started driving, actually.
And
for
that is?
3 years now.
3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like anytime if I'm alone, I'm running or driving, I listen to podcast. If I have my wife with me, then we listen to music.
Right.
So
So it's usually even running.
yes.
Or so it can be so it's
Like
alone
while
time.
working out, if I'm alone, if I'm home alone as well, I'll listen to podcast on my speakers. That's it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, so while you're walking around doing stuff, you'll just be listening. Oh nice.
Yes. Even if I'm at work. And
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and our resident noob with podcasts is
Noob.
actually Udit.
Yes.
So like I think he should be the one to start.
Yeah, let's get
Because
it started.
anyways, he's gonna recommend Android apps, and nobody's gonna download those anyways.
Right, so then we can just skip past that really quickly, and then we can come. So, okay, Udit, since you are relatively new to podcasts, let's start with you. But before you start, let me just give you an intro. I have listened to podcasts before. I'm not that into it. I think because of Knuckles' influence, I started to listen to some pretty cool podcasts recently, but I'm not really that into it on a regular basis as much as, say, Knuckle is. So I'm like the in-between. So it's a perfect segue for all three of us in this kind of levels of experience with podcasts, if I may say that. So Udit, let's hear what you have to say. Firstly, what's your experience with podcasts?
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, earlier, I never used to use these apps, But now, since I downloaded them a few days ago and started using them, I'm really liking them. And the way how different apps have different features. And
So Udit's having a bit of a meltdown,
Yes.
emotionally attached as well. So you're having a bad throat, aren't you, today?
yes, I am, unfortunately.
On our first episode.
Yes.
That's
Perfect.
Okay, so the way how different apps works differently are really interesting to know. I mean, some of them have a lot of features, some of them have ads, some don't have ads, some have the option of removing the ads, and the amount of podcasts that are available vary from app to app. And the features, it was really nice to discover the kind of features that are there and discover the apps that exist.
So can you tell me what kind of ads are you talking about? Are you talking about display ads or ads in the podcast episode as audio?
Display ads in the app, not as an audio. I haven't really come across the audio ones.
Okay,
too
so that's
often.
something that's really cool because I'll let Nakul talk about that in the next one because I know his app. I don't actually know what app you're talking about, which is kind of cool. So let's dive right into your app. And just before you get into that, we are talking primarily about mobile apps. However, whenever it becomes relevant, we will pull in, because it can influence someone's decision. We're going to pull in whatever resource we want to. So can it be web? Can be desktop app, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you start off with your app?
Okay, so being an Android user, the first app that I downloaded was Google Podcasts. And just like any other Google app, it had a very clean interface. And I like the way it works. It has a nice white background and all things are easy to know where they are. And I thought this was a pretty cool app until I downloaded other apps and saw how less of features the Google Podcast app has. And then I came across Podcast Republic, Podcast Go, Podcast Player, Castbox, Podbean, and I did some research, and of course these were among the top rated apps, so I downloaded these first. And when I checked Castbox, I saw a lot of features there. I mean, you could search by categories, audiobooks, radios, and they have the hot and trending. And even when you are playing a podcast, it has a lot of features on it. I mean, of course, you can increase the speed or decrease the speed as per your preference. You can mute or skip the silence part of it. So, yeah, of course, you can download them. You can choose.
So what's that one called?
It's called Castbox. It has an orange and white logo.
Castbox. Let me check if it's on.
Yeah, is there on iOS? You should.
Is it called
Yeah, it is.
Castbox Podcast? Is it this one?
Yeah, podcast.
Yes, it is that one.
Okay, so we definitely have it for iOS.
Yeah, for iOS, they have
Num-
4.8 out of 5 rating.
Yeah,
Wow,
number
that's
7
amazing.
on news. Does podcast count as news?
Well,
Yes.
there are news channels on podcasts.
Yeah,
which
but
have this
podcast
stuff.
itself.
Not podcast. Like, there are few. There are few
Completely-
shows which
yeah.
are about news.
Yeah, but I don't think it counts as news because you would take some time to record it, and then by the time we record, I mean, it's faster to type it out or tweet it or write an article than you do a podcast.
Fair enough. Okay, so this is pretty cool because I've not actually checked this app out at all,
Yeah, me neither.
which is pretty cool.
Okay, and it is by this company called Castbox.fm, which also has another app called the Podcast Player. Now, I was confused as to why both of these apps popped up, and they are by the same app developer. But I noticed that Podcast Player has much less of features, though it looks clean, but the features are less. So I didn't quite explore that app in detail as I didn't like it much.
Okay.
But Castbox definitely, I would say, won my heart.
Okay.
So I'm downloading Castbox right now. So I'll check it out later.
I just downloaded it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So pretty cool. It's got I like that it's immediately popped me into content discovery, which is pretty cool.
Yes, that is the first page that you see. And
Okay. So, let's say you started this journey with absolutely zero podcasts, right? Like no
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
So what's your shows that you're listening to right now that you have on there?
Well, right now I'm just listening to a few comedy shows. I haven't gone, frankly, I haven't been doing this for a long time. And I did listen to a few tech podcasts, which there was one by Sony. And since I've got my camera recently, there was something about the camera and the firmware updates, which was interesting. And the other one was just a comedy special. by Cyrus, an Indian guy. So
Cyrus Brocha?
Yes, that is the one, Cyrus Brocha.
Brocha?
Brocha.
Yeah, it's like Cafe Mocha.
Mocha.
I believe it's Brocha. Brocha is like, I don't know. None of those would make sense. Well, whatever. Anyways. Okay, cool. I didn't even know that he did podcasts, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yes, and there are some news ones, and there are a few by Robin Sharma, which I haven't really heard, but I just subscribe to them for now, and maybe I will listen to them soon.
Robin Sharma is good. I listen to it.
So hold on. So can I say this, that you actually found podcasts that are more centric towards Indian content? That's what because that's what seems to be generally.
And also non-tech.
And non-tech.
Yes.
Interesting. So how did you find that? How did you find those podcasts?
Well, I just went into categories, and usually the comedy section catches my attention for some reason everywhere, because I don't want to do all serious stuff, and I like a good laugh from time to time. So I went there, and this was one name I recognized, and that's what made me click on it. And I thought, okay, might as well check it out and what's he got to say.
Okay. Cool. So that's one way to discover.
Yeah.
That's one way to discover. Okay, so can I go next?
You want to talk about the next app? I think you had two.
Oh, you had two apps, didn't you?
But then, there was another one called Podbean, and I found the features quite similar, though the interface is a bit different. But it has, I think, almost all the features that Castbox has.
This is green and black logo?
Yes, the green and black logo, that's one.
4.9 on iTunes.
Wow. So again,
number 27 rated in news. So podcast apps are in news. It's interesting.
Right. So it has the top 100, it has different categories, different stations, it has audiobooks as well. I haven't seen too many apps which support all the audiobooks. I mean, these were the two apps which had the maximum amount of audiobooks that I found as compared to, let's say, podcasts.
They have audiobooks as well?
What do you mean audiobooks? Audiobooks like Audible?
Yes.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, the audiobooks.
I would never have thought of putting those two together, which actually, it's stupid because it actually makes a lot of sense. Because it's still audio content, right?
Yes. Talking about audiobooks, have you ever listened to an audiobook?
Not in its fruition.
I tried. It's quite boring.
No, so what I used to do, because I tend to read a little slower than most people, I think. So what I started doing was I used to put the audiobook on and read the book at the same time.
Okay.
To speed up my reading and retention and to improve my retention.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was like sensory overload of some level, but that was like a physical book with the audio coming through. It was interesting.
Yeah, maybe I should also try that, because I also read quite slow. Because I can read fast, but then I won't remember what I'm reading.
Right.
It won't make any sense to me.
Right. So you won't retain it.
Like
Your
after a page, I won't remember anything. And
fair enough. Makes sense.
Okay.
I'll be at
risk. So see, I found that something interesting, that they have audiobooks in here, because I've not really connected those two together. Hey, maybe we could do something about audiobooks. Note for another episode.
Yes, but there's only... Which other app is for...
That's the whole point. We'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go next.
Yeah.
Is that all that you have? Do you have anything else to share before I pop in?
Maybe the features of the apps, but then I think we'll go again right for the features. Right?
We can do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're exploring. This is the first episode. We'll see. We'll settle into a format eventually. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what everybody wants and how we feel comfortable.
Yeah.
We can go. So I'm gonna pop in, and I'm gonna talk about It's a really boring app, I guess. It's the podcast app from Apple. So Apple Podcast, and I don't know actually. Is it available on Android?
Which one?
Apple Podcast?
Apple Podcast? No. Let me check. I don't think so, but you never know. Apple
I think there's only one app by Apple on Android, that is
Transfer
Music.
Oh, Apple Music. Yeah, that makes
there's
sense.
just Apple Music. That's right.
What's his podcast player? Okay, no.
No, it's not by Apple. It
Okay,
just
so
pops up.
there's a limitation to this. Obviously, it's iOS or Apple ecosystem only. But that's also, for me, it's a double-edged thing, because for me, the reason why I use this, and I have used a few others, the reason why I come back to this app all the time is the ecosystem. So for me, okay, let me go back a bit. Content discovery on this thing is pretty alright. It's not that bad. It gives you like the top stuff. It just starts pushing popular stuff at you, which is great. And then if somebody has any issue with Apple, then they probably won't get pushed, which is fine. Okay, I guess that's Apple's way of doing things. I wasn't able to discover good stuff on this. That's definitely a problem for me with this app. On the other hand, the ecosystem really keeps me in. So I can subscribe to an app on my phone, and then on my MacBook, it just shows up on iTunes. And it's all synced. So if I've listened to an episode some way in, it's there on my MacBook as well. So the transition is very seamless. And when I'm at work or when I'm like dialed into my computer, I don't even look at my phone a lot of the times. So if I have my headphones in, that's what I'm using, because I have calls and stuff on my computer for Skype or whatever it may be. So I keep jumping back and forth. And play pause. Oh, sorry. Another important thing. Play pause. So the physical buttons on the keyboard, the play pause, works with the player for iTunes. With iTunes, obviously.
Okay.
Right? But it doesn't work with any web player, be it YouTube, be it anything.
Okay.
Which ties into what you're going to be talking about, Nakul, I guess. But the point is that's why I use the podcasting app. I know it's lacking a lot of features. A lot of stuff isn't there. Like, you can't, as far as I know, you can speed up the podcast a bit. That's also like you tap this button and then it keeps cycling through between 1.5 times, 2 times and half. So there's like only a limited number of speeds. Kind of sad. You can skip 30 seconds here and there.
Okay.
And then of course you can scrub through the whole audio timeline. So that's about it, really. But
to skip 30 seconds before and after, is there any option you can change it to 15 seconds?
Not that I know of. Maybe in the settings.
Okay.
Which again is another issue where you have to jump into Apple's settings to get to any setting.
Yes, you need to exit the app. Oh.
Actually, yeah, you're right. So I can change it. See, that's why you're the expert. So I can change forward from 10 to 60 seconds. So it's 10, 15, 30, 45, and 60.
Oh, okay.
And back is, I guess, it's the same.
So when do you use those skip buttons? Mostly
for skipping ads.
For skipping ads.
So ads within. So actually, that's something that you haven't heard, right?
Right.
So again, I'm going to let Nakul talk about it because he knows about it much more. But there are ads in the middle of episodes, like sponsored by and whatever it may be. Some people do it really well. So one of the podcasts that I listen to, they do it really well. So I actually listen to it.
Okay.
Some of the others, not so great. So I tend to skip 30 seconds and jump until I miss it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or if I have it on my computer that I can just scrub across, that's fine as well. But that's the way I do it. And then the other part of this particular app is that it has an Apple Watch app. I can control it with that. I can control it with my car, all this stuff. Yes. It's all of that. The extra features around it.
Okay.
Is there Siri shortcuts? I think so.
I've never actually tried.
For Apple Podcasts,
I would imagine so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody wants to know what kind of shows I listen to?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Do tell us what shows are you listening to?
Okay, so usually the shows that I started. Okay, my relationship with podcasting is very sketchy. So it's comes and goes. It's a on and off again, on again, off again, on again kind of relationship.
Okay.
So I started listening to podcasts purely for business and comedy.
Okay.
That was like my first time listening to podcasts, and it was more about curiosity of podcasting as a platform in general, and I like comedy, so why not mix those two together, right?
Right.
So I was listening to the Startup Podcast, obviously, because that's like
your thing.
That's the grandfather of podcasts. Actually, you should listen to it, Nakul.
Which one?
The Startup Podcast.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
It's like the grandfather of podcasting.
Right.
So it's something that you would find quite interesting.
Yeah.
So that's something that I started listening to, and it's for startups. Obviously, I know what you were trying to get at, but yeah, it is kind of me.
Yeah, but this one is really good. The first and second season, they're amazing.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
I should listen to it.
So that's one, and I used to listen to the show which I don't seem to have here anymore. It used to be called Just the Tip, which is a comedy.
Okay.
Comedy thing. Oh man, traffic has never been more entertaining. So for me, that was really great. But then again, I stopped listening to it. I don't know why. Maybe I stopped driving as much. Maybe it was one of those. But then I eventually got back into it. That was because of my now wife got me into listening to crime podcasts.
Okay.
So crime stories and stuff like Serial. Serial is another really popular podcast. It started off these kind of case file kind of podcasts. So serial killers, case file, Sword and Scale. Those are some of the ones that I listen to. Again, I've kind of gone off them, but that's what I used to listen to.
Right.
And then I once again went off, got back into actually a local podcast from UAE called the Frying Pan Diaries.
Frying Pan
Diaries. Yeah. So it's a food podcast.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Which was, so I really like these two ladies. They do a really good job, and what's really cool about the way they do their content is they make you listen to the food without seeing it.
Wow,
which
sounds interesting.
Yeah, well, you actually both. So all three of us are actually food bloggers at some level,
yes,
which is kind of cool too.
Yes.
But so you guys should definitely check this out. So for example, there's one episode where they're talking about frying some food, and they're talking about another one where they're roasting coffee.
Okay.
The pop and the crackle of roasting coffee sounds amazing.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So that's the kind of stuff I was listening to, and then again I got off it. I don't remember why, but I got off it, and now I'm back to podcasts with Back to Work thanks to Nakul. So he got me back. He got me onto this one, which was, and it's been fun again. It's mixing two of my favorite things, which is tech and comedy.
Yes.
Because they are kind of funny without being purposefully funny. So it's nice. It's natural. But yeah, that's my content. That's what I listen to. And actually, let me ask you a quick question. Do you download so you've listened to a few podcasts, right?
Right.
Do you download your episodes?
I've just downloaded one actually for some reason. I have just heard the rest online.
So you stream them directly?
Yes, stream them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
No, not quite. I mean, I just thought I didn't want to waste on my storage space. Though there is a lot, but for some reason, I don't like to download a lot of stuff which I may or may not require.
Android user,
yeah. That makes a big difference. You download stuff, your phone gets slow, man.
No, it doesn't get slow. I just don't like stuff in there which I may not need.
That's what she said. All right, so for me, I do download some episodes, not all of them, but it's not actually. So data wasn't a problem for me until very recently because my package sort of downsized. Thanks.
Okay.
Sucks, right? Anyway, so that wasn't a problem for me, but it was the instant of getting, when you press play, the instant it should start immediately.
Okay.
I don't want to wait for that 10 seconds of buffering
10
or
seconds.
whatever. Even I know it's a ridiculously small amount of time, but it used to really bother me. So that's something that I didn't like. That's one of the reasons why I sort of moved to downloading episodes beforehand. So I would plan my podcast consumption.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what you call it.
So even I download all my episodes because when I start a podcast, I'm always in the basement because to get my car, and there is never sufficient network.
Okay.
So I want to start playing podcast when I start driving.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. That's the same situation with me.
Yeah, okay. I guess I'm the only one who doesn't have a basement parking then.
Ooh, the condo lifestyle. Lifestyle burn. We're in Dubai. We're all right, I think, overall.
So I was just checking out how many, like I've downloaded episodes that are currently on my phone, 23.5 GB.
Yikes!
Wow.
Episodes like.
That's a
Dude,
lot.
how do you check that?
episodes.
So when I'll talk about my app.
Okay, so actually let's throw it to you, Nakul.
Yes.
Now, why don't you talk about your app?
So
and
the
give
app
us an insight.
that I'm currently using is Overcast. I've been using it for 2 years now. I'll tell you how I got introduced to this app. Actually, I saw one of Verge channel, YouTube channel, where they talk about what's next. So they said that this app is really good, and I checked it out, and I'm hooked ever since. So some of the features, the app is Overcast. Let me check how much rating do they have on App Store. It's 4.8, I guess. And I don't know if that you're on freemium or you're on a paid subscription, but
I'm on the free one.
yeah, I paid for it.
Okay.
It was a one-time payment.
Sorry, just before you tell the price, it's 36, ranked 36 in news.
36. Okay.
Yeah, so actually lower than both of the apps that Udit was talking
Yes.
about. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So this I paid 39.99 dirhams for a premium subscription. It's just without ads. That's it.
39.99. So 40 dirhams.
40 dirhams.
You paid one-time fees.
One-time fees
For
for just to remove ads.
just to remove ads.
Ads, those
Display ads.
Display ads.
So that's all you got for 40 dirhams?
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's free. All the features you can use.
Are you sure?
I think so because it's been 2 years. I haven't used the free version of it.
Hold on, because I know. Wait, hold on. I have some settings here that it doesn't let me skip. You know the whole. Well, one of the features that you're talking about, it doesn't let me do that. Overcast Premium. Here we go. Yeah, Premium settings. Ads in now playing. Ads in directory. File uploads and icon.
File uploads.
Forget about those two. But
so I don't upload
what's
any.
ads in now playing?
So maybe in between there must be.
In between episodes.
In between audio ads must be there. Other than the podcast ads that
okay.
are already on the show. So yeah, because it's been 2 years, so I don't remember what was the.
All right, so you paid for the app 2 years ago.
Yes, $39.99. So
that's just a one time. It was
one
not a
time
yearly.
charge. Yes, one time charge, and I use it in black mode always. Does your app has a black mode?
Yes,
dark
it
mode?
does have the themes, and some one of the app has theme and one has a night mode, which it makes it dark, fully black.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so some of the features why I use Overcast. I believe these features are there in every app now. So one is smart speed, which is it'll trim down the pauses and everything. And so I heard that one of the technology that they are using to speed up the voice, it's quite technologically advanced, so that the voice doesn't get the highs and lows stay steady, and it doesn't mess up the audio. And the other feature is voice boost. So because there are a few podcasts where the sound is quite low, so for that it increases the volume, at the same time keep the voices smooth. And the others, if I go in settings, so I keep all my episodes downloaded. I've set it to I think 4 previous episodes.
Nice.
So, and once I listen to those episodes, those they get deleted.
So when you're on the 5th one, the first one gets deleted.
No, as soon as I complete an episode listening, it gets deleted.
Oh, okay. So 4 in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
So that way, but I never finish an episode. I mean, there's like. That's for at the end 3 or 4 minutes. I don't listen to that because that's just end credits.
Okay. End credits. So then they don't
delete, but they delete once a new episode comes out. So the 4th one gets deleted automatically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your redundancy in a way. Okay, fair enough.
Other than that, the podcast I listen to, again, Back to Work, and then Connected. That's by Relay FM. That's again a tech podcast. Cooking Issues. It's not about cooking, but they use cooking terminology, but to explain like simple life stuff.
Wow.
So they talk about life only, lifestyle stuff. Then the other podcast I was listening to was Couples Therapy with Candice and Casey, that Casey Neistat's
nice.
podcast. It has nothing to do with tech or his videos. It's just Casey and Candice talking about their relationship.
Sounds boring.
Yeah, it gets boring after some time. But if somebody is a huge fan of Casey
Neistat, I would listen to it even though I think it sounds boring just because it's Casey Neistat.
Exactly.
Do you know who Casey Neistat is?
No, not really.
Okay, so let Nakul talk about him.
He's quite big. He came here last year.
Yeah, he did.
With XB.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you meet him?
I shook his hand.
Wow, it's like royalty.
I know.
YouTube royalty. So he's like
I've never washed his hand.
Okay, stay away from me.
I think he's one.
And I used his hand for everything.
Okay.
He was a one. Oh my god. TMI. I think he was one of the fastest growing YouTubers at one point. I don't think he is anymore, but he was.
Yeah, he's not anymore. He's at 8 million subscribers.
Oh, measly 8
But
million.
yeah, I think he's a daily. He got into daily vlogging.
Daily vlogs, yeah.
But for adults, I would say not like Logan Paul or Jake Paul stuff.
Yeah, so I wouldn't compare them because his videography style is phenomenal.
Exactly.
He's got such a unique videography style. It's amazing. Yeah. I love his studio too.
Yeah, many people try to copy that. Even I try to do it sometime, but
Yeah. There's definitely an eye around it. Yeah.
And the other podcast is, I listen to a lot of Gimlet Media podcast. So one of them is Every Little Thing. So
Gimlet is actually the company that came or was. So it's the startup podcast. The first 2 seasons are basically the foundation of Gimlet Media, right?
Okay.
It's basically that.
No. The
It's
first
not?
episode is about Gimlet Media. The second season is about a dating website by 2 ladies. In the third season, they talk again about Gimlet.
Right?
What's
So,
going on? Yeah.
but it's about like
2 podcasts
finding funding and all that stuff. The name. He went
Yes.
through all of that in a few of the episodes. Okay, not
Okay.
the whole 2 seasons. My mistake. But yeah. All right.
So the podcast is Every Little Thing. So in that they talk about one simple question, like little question which everybody has, but nobody knows the answer to, like TSA treasure chest. So when there's a TSA checking at US airport, so where all that stuff goes. So they go deep down into it and find out where that stuff really is.
So they actually try to
wow.
find the answer.
Yes,
That's
they
pretty cool.
did find the answer.
Oh,
And
now I'm curious to find out.
Yeah, and then the garbage. Where does the garbage go? Then like bubblegum.
Out of the country.
The one I really liked was bubblegum.
Okay.
Yeah, we know bubblegum flavor, but
What is bubblegum
how that flavor
Came
came
about.
into existence.
Wow.
Wow, these are questions no one thought of also.
Yes, yes, and also like auctioneers. Like, have you noticed like how auctioneers talk?
Oh yeah.
They're really fast.
It's insane. How do people hear that?
Yeah, so they explain it in detail in this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So other is Gary Vee audio experience, but I never listened to it. I just listened to his Instagram short post. And so there is one really funny podcast. How did this get made?
Okay.
So in this, they talk about, like 3 people talk about stupid movies and how did they came into existence. I mean, like who thought about making these movies?
Is
So
it something similar to that episodes which used to be how is that made, which used to
How It
stream,
Works?
Yeah, how it works. Yeah, there was one called How It Works.
Was it Nat Geo or
No, I think
Discovery.
you're
Discovery,
talking
maybe?
about
Discovery.
Discovery.
Oh, okay.
How It
Discovery.
Works?
No.
Okay. One word.
It's quite funny.
So this
podcast,
doesn't
it's
work that
comedy.
way.
Yes, thanks for the puns.
So like apologies, but my list is little
Long.
yeah.
Ex-
Well, we don't need to know
Extensive.
every single
not
episode, but
every.
just the general.
The Minimalist podcast, that's a really good podcast. I mean, like that must be in the top 5 podcast.
Yeah, that's what
globally.
you wanted me to listen to as well.
Yeah, the
I remember,
Minimalist
yeah.
podcast. And then
Okay, before you
Yeah.
continue, I actually have a question for you. How do you discover your podcast? Because Overcast, it's one of the reasons why I don't like Overcast is there's no content discovery for me.
so
Or maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, I never go on search and try to find a podcast that I might like. It's always through listening to a podcast and somebody would recommend some podcast. And if I like it, then I'll get hooked to it. But I never go in discovery. But there is a plus button. If I press there, I can find it. It also extracts recommendation from Twitter, my Twitter account.
Wow.
Oh, so you have your Twitter linked.
Yes.
So, you
So
scroll
does
there.
it like read your tweets and then search what?
No,
have
what
you-
other
People you follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. People you follow.
And then there is most recommended comedy that all
He
this
sold
is.
his data to the devil.
Yeah.
Wait, Twitter's not been doing so bad. Come on. Twitter's been doing all right. They're actually growing in the
Yeah.
region. It's quite nice.
Yes, they are.
Oh, okay, any local podcasts that you're listening to? Local from the region?
No, not from this region.
Not from this region.
No.
You, Udit?
But
Anything?
I'll start
No,
listening
I
to
haven't.
I'll
The
start
Frank Pan
listening to
Diaries?
Frank
Yeah.
Pan Diaries, yeah.
Yes, I subscribed to it already. Since
Yeah.
you said.
They're good. I like them. I actually don't know anything else local. I know that there was one tech podcast, local tech podcast, which is pretty cool to see. Obviously,
That's us.
Yes, the AbsoluteCast. You gotta listen to that. That's the best one yet. In fact, it's best in the world.
Of course.
Selfish plug. What was the other? Another reason why. So I like Overcast actually. It's very simple to use. I can't remember any of the other ones that I used off the top of my head. Though I like the ones that you shared with it. Those are pretty cool. Castbox
Right.
Yeah.
sounds really cool. But so one of the reasons why I tried Overcast for a while. I think I gave it like 3 or 4 days. I couldn't use it. primarily because it doesn't have a Mac app that works with the physical Mac play pause buttons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a key for me, because if somebody at work comes in and asks me a question, I need to pause it. If I take my headphones off, I'm going to miss out, I have to rewind it. I find it very cumbersome. I'll give up. So if I have to do that too many times, I'll definitely give up. So with Overcast, that was my biggest gripe.
Okay. Because it's available. There's a web app, but not.
It's on the browser, so I have to go open up the tab, find the tab first.
Yes.
Then open it up and then pause that.
Sign in.
If it's playing already. I'm saying if I want to pause it.
Yeah.
Because it's open, but I've got quite a few tabs when I'm at work.
Okay.
And I need to find that correct one, pause that. Even if I remove it, keep it on the side somewhere as a separate window, I still have to get to it, pause it. That's my biggest gripe with Overcast. So if for example, Castbox has because the thing I like the most about Castbox is that content discovery looks insane.
Yes. As soon as you go, you can see top shows, so the ones that are trending.
Yeah.
You can see the categories. And I also noticed this tab called Originals. So I'm guessing there are shows or podcasts which are particular only to this app.
Yeah, I think so, because they have that Castbox logo.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So original content.
And how much you need to pay for that?
This, I think it's a yearly thing, which is it's monthly. It's 3.59 dirhams a month. That's about $1 a month.
For the content?
No, this is for no visual ads, unlimited subscriptions, because in the free one there is just 100. You can subscribe to 100. A personalized homepage, so you can change whatever you see as on your login. Prioritized response times. I'm not sure
support
what
maybe
that is.
That's
For the support perhaps.
Yeah.
And new features, be the first to experience. Maybe they release features to you first before others get it.
So those originals, you can listen to it even if you're not a subscriber. Okay.
Yeah, you can listen to it.
Okay. That's what I think. There's another app, Stitcher.
Stitcher.
Yeah, they do that. They have Stitcher originals.
Yeah. Stitcher is actually really big. I'm surprised none of us actually look. Did you guys look into that? Because I didn't.
No, I did not.
I used it for some time. But
so what made you move off of it?
When I open the app, they always show favorites. I don't know. There was something that I didn't like, because I like how Overcast displays my...
your content?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why.
I think it's the premium bar on the top or something. So Stitcher is 4.0 rating, and it's number 22 in use. Funnily, Podcasts for Apple has no rating. I don't know if that's by design, but Podcasts has no rating.
Oh.
And it has. Hold on, I'm trying to find.
Is Google Podcast there for Apple?
No, it's not. No. I checked that. That's one of the first things. So Podcast, at least for me, it shows no rating and has no rank, but it is ages 4+. So let me tell you what you get with the subscription for Apple Podcast premium version. Nothing, because we don't have one. There isn't one. So which is again, it's two cool things. So that means I get no ads. I'm an ad-free experience, which is nice.
Okay.
But also there's no
additional features.
Yeah. And this is I know that this is podcasting became quite popular thanks to Apple. I know this. This is a fairly well-known fact, but I feel like it's become a side project for them now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've not really given it much love recently.
True.
I don't know.
But maybe they're trying to keep it simple. I mean, like, why to add extra features in an app which third-party developers are already building? That's why nobody uses notes or reminders. You use?
I do. Don't look at him. He's Android.
Yeah, I'm far away from
you're
that.
like
no. I use the Notes app.
Yes.
And I think I'm gonna move off.
Okay.
But I do use the Notes app. I just need a way to move off. So I need to take all my notes and put that into something. I know my wife uses something. I forget what the name is, but it's got folders and color coding and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Evernote?
No. Evernote. No. I'm going completely Evernote free now.
Mm-hmm.
Their apps are very slow. They slow down my computer like crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
So I've actually moved to Google almost entirely. Anyways,
okay.
that was not the point. The point was that I I'm in this podcasting app right now. Overcast, one of the reasons why I don't listen to them is because of this. I might try out the app that you're talking about, Castbox.
Yes.
I'll also do
So
that.
I would actually like to talk about a few features of this, which I found out, which I liked.
Go for it.
So the first one was comments. I haven't seen this in too many of the other podcast apps. So you can comment on the podcast and you can see what other people have commented. So let's say it's a self-help podcast and maybe the person who's doing the podcast forgot to tell about a few things. And one of the users asked, hey, where can I find this? And someone answered the question. So all of them who see the comment can actually get access to that content or they know where to go and find it, which is really cool.
So it's on, I can see it here. It's a tab on the particular podcast. So it's comments on the podcast, but not the episode, right?
On the episode as well. So when you open the episode, you'll see it in the bottom right, at least on Android. I'm not sure how is it on iOS.
No, I don't see it on mine. Maybe I need to...
Which
What
app?
am I doing now?
Oh,
Oh yeah, I see it.
Castbox.
But that's only when you're playing it. Is that the same
yes,
for you?
yes.
Okay.
When you're playing it. Well, of course. I mean, I wouldn't see any reason why would you want to comment on it without listening to it.
Maybe not comment, but say I listen to it and I want to go back and see what the comments are.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, perhaps.
No, even if you're not listening to it, you can comment on it, right?
That's just...
I mean, like if you pause it.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Yeah, but that's the the active one.
Like, in the main view where you have the list of episodes, if I want to just click on one episode and see the comments, I can't do that.
Okay.
So I have to actually play it. And, okay, it may not be playing, but it's in the now player.
Yeah,
Yes.
now, correct.
If I can call it that. And then...
Yes.
But I like this interface. I like it. It's
Yes.
nice.
So this was one thing which I loved. And also another thing is that the history, there is one search history of the terms that I have searched, and there is another history of the podcast that I've played but not subscribed to, or I had not favorited or followed. So the normal search, like say I go in this the search bar, it shows me what all terms I've searched for.
Nice.
And then when I go to library and I click on this little icon on the top right, it shows me the podcasts that I clicked on, but I haven't favorited them or subscribed to them. So in case I forget to subscribe to something, then it's still there in the history in my library, which was really cool.
Oh, so in the library, you have these 3 buttons: downloads, playlists, new episodes, and favorites. So I can favorite something without subscribe. So favorite is a subscribe.
I think the favorite
it's
is
just
for
that episode.
the one episode.
Oh, okay.
One
Yeah.
episode. But I really like this app. Even they have video podcasts. I mean, like videos,
Oh, really?
TED Talks. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that actually reminds me of something else. But first, before I get into that, so Nakul, you were talking to me. So one of the ways you brought up Overcast to me was the number of minutes saved, statistical data.
Yes.
So can you just run me through that? Because I find that to be quite mind blowing.
That is the
so
main
cool.
feature of Overcast.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm so used to it.
There's a dark theme, by the way, for Castbox.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, we talked about this. Oops.
So yeah, if you go in settings, you can see how many hours you have saved listening to podcast by adjusting the speed.
Oh wow.
It says extra 21 hours. Extra 21 hours I've saved, and by speed adjustment alone.
Okay.
So I saw a video about this. I saw a podcaster. So I follow Stallman, Tyler Stallman. He's a great YouTube channel and also a podcast. So he has saved approximately, I think, 330 hours just on Overcast.
Nice.
So that's a really cool feature. I mean, like there is a trim feature and to auto speed in every app, but I don't know if you can see how many hours you've saved. I don't know.
In
other apps.
It's
yeah.
not there on the Apple Podcast app.
Yeah, I don't think it's there in this either. I couldn't see it.
I feel so left out. There's nothing in this app.
But yeah, there are some more features in this app. Of course, the one that...
Are you getting paid by this app? I
you
swear it
never
sounds like
know.
Show me the money.
As Nakul said some features about the other podcast app, in this also you can trim silence. That is, it will skip the parts where it is silent, and you can increase or decrease the playback speed if you want. You can also boost volume. That's there. and you can adjust the skip duration. So I can jump back or forward by 10, 20 or 30 seconds. I can set it to whatever my preference is.
And I do know that it has a feature where you can skip to the next song. I was just seeing that. So episode. So if you want to change it, you can change it to skip episode. So if you click the forward button, it'll go to the next one.
Okay.
Rather than skipping ahead. That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so I guess one of the podcast apps that I want to talk about in addition to all of this is actually Anghami, which is where, I mean, we are obviously going to be talking about sorry, Udit, you had something to add.
Oh yeah, there were actually a couple of features, like I can choose how do I use my mobile data for this app. So is it used only for streaming or for streaming and downloading, or doesn't use at all? But of course, I mean, the good thing is that if I switch off the mobile data and I still try to download it, it just gives me a pop-up saying that I am on mobile data and do I want to download it. So I just, with a click of a button, I can override that feature.
So given that's honestly, I think that's a really good podcasting app.
Yeah. And it works with Android Auto. It shows up in Android Auto, and on my watch too. I mean, from the watch I can play and pause it. I tried searching, but that time it wasn't getting connected properly.
What watch are you using?
I'm using the Huawei Watch 2 and Android Wear.
An Android Wear. Okay, yes. Yeah. So Huawei has Android Wear.
Yes.
So it links up with Android Wear.
Yes.
It doesn't have like more support beyond play, pausing, and skipping.
No, that's it.
But that's all you need.
Yeah, I
really.
think that's enough.
That's more than enough.
Yes.
Can you play podcasts through your? Oh,
yes.
Castbox has an Apple Watch app.
Yeah.
It literally opened up onto my watch on its own.
Wow.
That's creepy. Why are you doing that? So this has like I can actually go through my content as well. I know the podcasting app should have. I mean, I used it only for now playing. Yeah, so the podcast app for Apple does have it. You can go through your various podcasts, and it's visual, so shows you the pictures.
Oh wow,
it's pretty cool. So it's nice. So obviously each app will have a different thing, but okay. Anything else?
Another feature which I noticed right now while subscribing to channels is that as soon as I hit the subscribe button, it goes to the channel settings, which is auto download. I can toggle it on or off. I can choose how many episodes, unplayed episodes I want to keep, and so on. So for every time I hit subscribe to a channel, it pops up those options, and instantly I can select the settings for each individual channel.
So I feel like it's wiping the floor with the two apps.
I know. I'm thinking of switching to
Castbox.
Castbox.
Right.
Podcast?
So
what's that?
Castbox.
Okay.
Castbox. Download it now. So
download it. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll put all this stuff in the show notes. At least the links to the various apps on whatever stores they're available. We'll put that in the show notes. But okay. I'm glad that Udit has done so much research because
I know
because we learned something new today. a lot of stuff new today. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna check out this podcasting. I want to see if they have a desktop version, but that's not the focus of this, so I'm not gonna talk about that. But okay, I was alluding to this earlier, so let me talk about Anghami. Now, Anghami, obviously, we all know is a local music streaming service, right? Now they have their own desktop app as well. So I've not really tried it myself because our podcasting catalog is still pretty new and they've just recently gotten into podcasting. So obviously we're jumping on Anghami first, I guess, before we go to anybody else. So for us, it's pretty cool, and they're doing a great job with supporting podcasting in general. Yes. I mean, they're not actually asking me to say any of this, but I just felt like it's a nice shout out to give to them because they've given us some equipment to not given us, but we're at their facilities recording this episode. So the audio quality is going to be quite decent. I guess you guys will be the judge for that. But the audio quality is pretty cool. We have a nice setup here, and they're doing a good job to push local content. So if you want to see local content for podcasting, you can actually see it on Anghami to see the list. And then if you want to take that and maybe listen to that on your regular podcasting apps, it's up to you. Mm-hmm. I use Anghami actually I had been using Anghami quite a lot when I was streaming music. But it's a nice app. I think it's a great ecosystem. I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because it's pretty cool of them. I like what they're doing with the region. They did win some recent. I don't know if you guys know about it. I literally got an email about it today from some website that said that Anghami got like a bunch of awards recently for the Middle East. Yeah,
that's good.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I think they started in Lebanon.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, now you do. All right. So let's wrap this up.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Any closing comments?
So do subscribe to our channel
Yeah.
on the podcast app of your choice.
And let us know which of these apps did you like. Did you actually like Castbox, or do you find any other app which has more features and you
Yeah.
recommend those? Maybe we could cover that in the next episode briefly.
Yeah, and if you're on a podcasting app which isn't Castbox and doesn't have comments on it, you can obviously just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think Twitter is the best way because we're all on there. You could just drop us a tweet and tell us what kind of podcasting app that you like, that you prefer. Whoops, Castbox, because that really honestly just destroyed all of ours. But all right, so thank you guys for listening. This was the Absolute Cast. We've got Nakul signing off.
See ya.
Udit signing off.
Yes, bye-bye guys. This one was great.
And of course me, TJ, signing off. See you in the next one.
Peace.